I like talking about things you're not supposed to just because it's funny. And I hate political humor.
Live from the Willie Nelson and Friends Museum Showcase in Nashville, Tennessee. It's Music is Funny. Musicians talking to comedians about music and comedy. With your hosts, Raelyn Nelson and Jonathan Bright.
I'm still smoking, I'm so high, I keep toking, I'm drunk, but I'm still drinking too.
Welcome back to Music is Funny. I'm Raelyn Nelson.
And I'm Jonathan Bright from the Raelyn Nelson Band, back with another ridiculous and unnecessary intro.
And we actually have a guest today, a Christy Miller. Yay!
Hey, Mama.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. So this is my guitar player and co-host, JB.
Nice to meet you.
Are you in a closet?
Yes. No, it's my green screen.
Okay.
I'm fancy, okay?
Yeah, we use green screen too. We not here, but on everything. Pretty much every video we do is green screen something.
I just don't like people seeing my room or my space.
Yeah, I get that.
It's just kind of like a privacy thing. I don't know. Maybe because I'm a slob. Our apartments are this big, so everything is, whatever.
How big is your apartment?
It is so big. It's an old tenement building. So I have a roommate, and she's like in the front half, which is kind of cool, and I'm in the back half, so I never have to see her. That's cool. But it's the room is big. It's big. It's not like wide open, nor exactly. And it's like this weird like tenement buildings are long, like the old railroads. Right. So they're not like wide open like normal human being living spaces. Like there's no like living room and dining. There's nothing like that. It's just like, okay, there's a bathroom. There's the kitchen for the tenement building. You can even see the dumbwaiter that's in the back. That's still there, but it's just been sealed over with the buzzer. So the other tenants on the upper floors would just put their dishes or whatever in, and they would just bring it down to the kitchen. And my bedroom was the original dining room for the whole tenement place. So this is where everybody gathered to eat. And sometimes I get woken up by a lot of people in this room. Like it's chatter.
Ghosts and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, at least you guys got a waiter. He's not very smart, but at least you have a waiter.
Hey-oh. Hey. That's our show, folks.
Thank you. Good night.
I want to hear more of these ghost stories. Is there anything that's super scary that happened?
Ghost stories ghosts don't scare me because I'm like, what are you going to do? What are you going to hit me? Come on, take your best shot. No, but I remember the first night I moved in this apartment and I was asleep and I felt somebody tugging on my foot like this. And I woke up and there was this little like Cuban man standing at the edge of my bed. Who doesn't have a Cuban at the end of the bed?
He's the waiter.
It's a New York thing. That's what we do. And he's standing there and he's waving. He goes, "Hi, I'm Pedro. Nice to meet you." And I'm all half asleep. I'm like, "Huh? Okay." He goes, "You look like a nice lady. You just moved in the building?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I go, "Who are you?" Because I'm Pedro. I'm the super downstairs, but I died 2 years ago of cancer. But you seem like such a nice lady. I wanted to say hi and welcome you to the building. And I went, "Okay, thank you." And I went back to sleep. And that next morning, my roommate goes, "So how did you sleep your first night in the apartment?" And I said, "Who's Pedro?" And her face turns white. And she goes, "Who the fuck did you know that?" And I said, "Well, he woke me up and told me he died of cancer in the basement a couple years ago because the super used to live in the basement. It wasn't like a legit apartment, What New York buildings are. We'll just put a mouse trap and let somebody move into it and then charge it $3,000. And then she goes, "How the fuck did you know any of that?" And I go, "I just told you. He woke me up and he told me." Like it was no big deal. Because it isn't a big deal. Who cares? I'm not going to hurt you. Yeah. And that was my first night in this apartment. And ever since then, it's just been little things. And then I saged the shit out of it. I'm like, "All right, you all got to go. You ain't paying rent. You got to go. You're not cleaning up. You're not pitching in. Get the fuck out of here."
Okay, so what's the first music you remember loving as a kid?
Oh, God.
Yeah, the very first.
The very first. God, that is so hard. Because there was so much. And like, I remember the first album I bought
Okay.
was the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack.
Nice.
I'm 100. And Raelyn's like, what is Rocky Horror? I don't get it.
That's okay. I'm 105, so I'm right there. With
Okay,
you.
go. So you get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Because
get
all
it.
my cousins, they were all gay. And my sister and everybody was like anywhere from 5 to 8, 9 years older than me. So I wanted to be like the cool kids and hang out with my big sis and all them. So my cousin was really into him, and his best friend Brad would dress up when they would go to the theater at night. They would dress up as the characters and do the live show at the bottom.
Yep.
So like my cousin Brad was Frankenfurter, and my cousin Bobby was Riff Raff, and they would dress up and have a good time. So I got really into the soundtrack, and that's like who listens to that? Like, it's the worst music on the planet unless you have the movie and all the cast of characters at the bottom with the audience participation. Without the audience participation, it sucks. But I still bought it. So because I was 7?
Yeah, but that was a big
how
deal
that-
back. Going to see that movie was a big
Huge.
deal back then. For a nice
Huge.
certain segment of time, it was huge.
It was a thing to do at Friday at midnight. It was the thing on Fridays and Saturdays at midnight. Go see Rocky Horror.
Was it different every time?
No, it's the same movie, but it's basically audience participation. You get out in front of the screen, people would dress up like it, and they would answer the
And
dialogue.
act it out.
Yeah, there'd be dialogue in the movie that you
Yeah.
didn't have
Would that be
punch-
annoying
And
though?
No.
You know what I mean? Like if you're watching a movie and people are talking.
No, really fun. It acts so bad. No, the movie's sad. And the audience participation makes it fun. And it's like when Brad and Janet would enter, the stupid thing they would say, virgins first, asshole second. When they would enter, she would always enter the room first. And then when they chopped up Meatloaf, when they killed him, and then Frankenfurter serves dinner, like, no, Meatloaf again. It's campy feedback like that everybody did. And it was like it was like Catholic Church. Everyone knew when to say, what to say, and how to say it. So the whole audience would be in on it. And it was just, that's why you went. It was for the whole experience.
But how, like, if you went for the first time, how would you know what to do?
Well, you probably first time you go and you maybe just sit and watch it go on.
Yeah.
But this is pre-internet, so all these little barbs that you would shout back at the screen were just kind of passed down or passed around. It wasn't part of the movie. It was answering. They would make up punchlines. So the guy in the movie would say something, and then you'd come back, Meatloaf again, answering what was
okay.
going on in the movie. So it's
Yeah. You knew what the fuck you were getting into. So you would go for the experience. Even if you didn't know anything, you'd go and watch the entire show around you happen.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah.
Well, can you still go see them?
I was just about to ask, do they still do that? I haven't even heard of Rocky Horror. I don't know if that still happens.
Probably maybe like 7, 8 years ago, they were still doing it. Like the new generation, like our kids grew up and then they did it because it was cool. Like it's retro, like back in the 90s, like, when we thought disco was retro because we were little kids when disco was out. So we didn't get to enjoy it. So like I grew up in San Francisco. So down in the Haight, you had all these thrift stores and you buy all these cool, like old vintage disco clothes and listen to the music. So we thought we were cool dressing up like the 70s. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing. It's like things go in cycles. Like we like to do like the retro thing.
Yep. It's true.
Nothing exciting. It's sorry.
No, that is exciting. Okay, so you grew up in San Francisco. I think you did tell me that. So how did you get to New York?
How did you get that accent?
So when I moved there, people are like, what part of New York or New Jersey are you from? And I go, San Francisco.
Right.
And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, well, what happened? How'd you get your accent? I go, well, I'm from San Francisco. And I told them like the areas that my grandparents lived in. They were my adopted grandparents because my real grandparents are pieces of shit. And these were the grandparents that I knew growing up.
Okay.
And they're old Italian from Brooklyn. I never knew that. I never paid attention. California was a place where everybody went to escape where they came from, to escape tradition, escape family values, all the religious shit. They escaped it to be free-spirited hippies. We're going to be free spirits. And that's why they went to California. So it wasn't, you never asked people like, I never understood different white people or different black people or brown. I didn't understand. I just thought people were just people. I didn't give a fuck. Okay, you got a better tan than I do. All right, cool, awesome. But we knew the Chinese. All right, that's great food. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, someone asked me what part of New York or New Jersey. I'm like, I'm from San Francisco. And when I told him, he's like, that explains it. A lot of Brooklyn Italian moved to that part of San Francisco. And I went, they did? All right, cool. All right. And I just kept it moving. And then it just never changed. And then when I got to New York, people thought I was from him. Like, it's just, I can't help it. And then when I get mad, when I start cussing people out, oh my God, it is so, oh my fucking God, get the fuck out of here.
Zoom is freezing again. Should we try to get off and on one more time?
Yeah, would you jump off and come back in again one more time?
It seems to be working now, though.
It does seem to be working now.
That's why I had to pull the plug, because your face is frozen through most of it. And I'm like, well, we could put up a something, but I want to make sure we can hear this stuff.
See your pretty face.
Oh, well, it is New York City, and a lot of women's faces are frozen. So, hi, this is great to be here. Yeah, I'm really excited.
See, we have to have this.
See, I know.
Yes, it's working now.
I'm so upset. This is so sad that everything is falling apart. This is Cheryl.
She looks like Terry Fader. We interviewed him too, which
The
is hilarious.
ventriloquist.
I asked him, have you ever done an interview where you just do your ventriloquism and don't move your face and pretend like you're frozen the whole time? Oddly enough, he hasn't.
No, I haven't done it.
My friend Rob Bartlett does that. He was like the head writer for Imus in the Morning for like 30 years, and he's a great stand-up older guy. He does that like during lockdown. We would do these like fundraisers and all this crazy shit, and he would just sit there and go,
That's good.
It's so good.
and I would be crying in the background just.
How long is it going to go?
Forever.
So I want to know what, so you worked at the Comedy Store. When was your first stand-up? Like, when did you do your very first stand-up?
And what was it like?
Scary. December 18th, 1995.
Right on.
It was a cold, dark winter's night. It was scary, and the storms were coming in, and there was no food. No.
Where was it?
At the Comedy Store in the belly room. Yeah.
Belly room. Okay.
And my friend Freddie Soto, God rest his soul. A lot of good comics die. That's when you know you're good, when you die young.
I've heard a lot of stories about that guy.
Yeah, Freddie Soto was hilarious, so funny, and so he told me I'd only been waitressing there a couple of months, and I talked about it, but I was nervous. When you first start out, 3 minutes feels like an hour.
Yeah.
Does that how you feel, Raelyn?
Yes.
Like it's it's like watching the microwave when you're starving. It's like, it's only 3 minutes, and it's like 2:59, 2:58. You do like 6 jokes, and you look at the clock, 2:52. Like, motherfucker, I've only been on here for 8 seconds. So I tried to come up with my little stuff, and I went up. I don't even remember what I said. I just went up just to try things, and I did my Cher impression. Yeah. And then I did a couple jokes, and it was a long 3 minutes, but like everybody came upstairs, like my friend, like Carlos Mencia, Joe Rogan, Dom Irrera, Dave Edwards, Brian Holtzman, everybody that Don Barris, all these great comics from back then all came upstairs to witness Christy's doing stand-up for the first time, one of the waitresses. So they all came upstairs and cheered me on. They're like, you're really good. They're like, you have it. They're like, you totally have it. Just keep writing. Just keep doing it. And then, and I was very excited. So I came up with this idea for Cher, and I would come out, I would hide in the walker behind the curtain in the original room, and Jeff Scott, our piano player, God rest his soul, he would play the karaoke tape, and I put the wig on, and I'd come out with a walker if I could turn back time. And as the music's playing, I'm with the walker, and already the crowd's dying laughing because it's Cher. This is This is in like the mid to late, this is 1995, this is 96.
Yeah.
And people are dying laughing. And I don't even get to the mic, and I go up and I sing the first verse, and I rewrite the words. And then, if I could turn back time, if I had oil of Olay, I would do all this stupid shit. And then I can't remember the rest of it. And then when she goes into the verse, I have her by the microphone. She goes, I can't remember half the things I did. I can't remember half the things I said. Snoring, crowds going nuts. I could have just walked off stage at that point and got a standing ovation. Like, that was my first big joke that I wrote. I still use it.
Yeah. It's good. I love the Cher stuff.
And you mentioned a lot of those guys that came up to see you. Were there any in particular that kind of took you under their wing? A lot of the people we've talked to had a class above them that kind of drug them along.
Yeah. Paul Mooney was the one that really grabbed me and took me under his wing.
Oh, wow.
And everybody's like, why you, Paul Mooney? Why you? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe because I'm better than you. Fuck you, asshole. Maybe because I'm different and I just tell it like it is. And I'm not like I was going to the store the other day, and then, I went to pay for my coupons. And, I can't stand corporate. I can't stand cruise ship. I can't stand happy, clean. I like reality. I like stupid shit. I like talking about things you're not supposed to just because it's funny. And I hate political humor.
Yeah.
That must have felt good with Paul Mooney giving you the thumbs up, though, because that's a legend.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Didn't let a lot of people in, I wouldn't imagine.
No, not a lot at all. And I remember John Mulrooney came up to me and goes, why you? Why'd he pick you? Like, yelling at me in the hallway of the Comedy Store. And I'm like, whoa, back off. First of all, I'm like, I don't know. Ask him. I don't know. Maybe because I'm real and I'm a normal person. Maybe I'm not a bullshitter. I don't know. I don't know. You ask him. I go, why are you yelling at me for that? That's stupid. And then, I'd get pointers from Dice. I hung out with Dice a lot. And I was on Dice's album cover, Face Down, Ass Up. So I set up that photo shoot for him, and I'm on the album cover. And then this last time we were together in Florida doing shows, he goes, I brought a surprise for you. He brings out old tour shirts of Face Down, Ass Up. And I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. Because I didn't get any of the merchandise back then because the record company didn't even pay him for the record. Like, he got fucked on that deal. Yeah, it was really fucked up. They did him dirty. So I never got, he goes, I think I have a copy of it somewhere. I was like, I'll bring you one next time I'm back in New York. So that's
man,
all. But
when he did The Day the Laughter Died, I think it was, that is the most
greatest album ever.
Unbelievable. I remember I missed it the first time, like listening through it. I'm like, what the fuck? He's not even really telling jokes. And then it took about 1.5 times through going, oh, wait, he's not telling any jokes. And then you hear the backstory. I'm like, that's the most punk rock move of all time because he was on top of the fucking world at that time.
Yep. The story for Raelyn is he just did Madison Square Garden, Dice Rules, biggest comic in history. Like, huge. No comic ever sold out the Garden. No one, we never even thought that big.
Yeah.
Big for us was like a 400-seat club, 500-seat club, maybe a theater if you were a big name. But no one thought stadiums. And here comes Dice and does a stadium tours and does a world stadium tour, not just the Garden, like a lot of these comics. Dude did the Garden. Dude, do the entire country and then Australia and shit as stadiums. Then come talk to me about you're a fucking stadium comic. You know what I mean? I get so annoyed because Dice is the original. And when he did that, he was at Dangerfields. There was about 12 people in the audience that night. And Dangerfields is closed now. It closed during COVID, but it had financial problems years before COVID. And I think COVID was its way out to like get a little loan, get financially, whatever from the government. I can't talk anymore, apparently. So he's in Dangerfields, just did Dice Rules, just came off Dice Rules. He's the biggest thing in the world right now. and he's just up there bombing hard on purpose and does a 2-hour record.
Double album.
And it's just double album bombing. He plays the album for Mitzi Shore. Mitzi, he brings her to his house. She's sitting there. He goes, "It's the greatest album you ever heard. It's the greatest thing ever." And she goes, "Oh my," like first few minutes, she goes, "Oh my God, this is terrible. You're not going to release this." That's how Mitzi talked. "You know, you're not going to, oh my God, this is terrible. This is awful. You're going to ruin your career." And he goes, no, it's going to be the greatest thing you ever saw. And she also said that to him about the Andrew Dice Clay character. She goes, "You got to be more self-deprecating. You can't just be pompous." He goes, "No, give me a few months over at Westwood. Let me work it out and I'll bring it back to the Comedy Store. And then I'll show you, it'll be the biggest thing." And sure enough. And then he goes, "This is going to be the biggest album. Just watch." Oh God, this is awful. So he releases it, his biggest album to date. It is so funny because it's so bad. It is so genius that you're that level, because
dad
comics
joke or something.
No, it's kind of like bad
No,
crowd
it's
work.
just-
It's just not. It's
horrible crowd work. It's premises without a payoff. It's just it's like an open mic, and it is so funny because here's this big guy. Usually when you're on that level, or any comic never likes to air anytime they bomb. They never talk about it. They never would never have the confidence in themselves to show you, "Watch me bomb hard for 2 hours. Watch this," and record it and sell it. Who does this? But he's Dice, and that's just his arrogant character's way of just like, fuck you. You know, like it's the greatest thing because everybody's going to show their great work. Here comes Dice with 2 hours of bombing hard with the crowd. They're yelling at him. They hate him. People walking out. It's epic. It's the funnest comedy album ever.
even the heckles are bad. I think there's an old man that screams out, "You're about as funny as a glass of milk." Makes no sense, but you can hear him. So the whole thing, it's very Andy Kaufman almost. Like we're just.
Can you see it on YouTube now or something?
I'm sure it's.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna watch.
Oh yeah, you could listen to it on anything. You could probably go on Spotify and look up "The Day the Laughter Died," and then it'll be there.
We'll pull it up next road trip we have. It'll be 2 hours of
nothing.
Yeah,
not
it's
funny
just
at all.
of not. But since you're starting comedy, it would be a good thing to listen to like what things not to do.
Yeah.
And
what not to
and
put out on a double record.
Yeah. And like there's no premises here. And then after you listen to that album, listen to like Dice Rules or Face Down Ass Up or 42 Long or any of his other records he's put out that are just off the charts. And he's funnier now than he was 42 years ago. Because now he's Andrew, like he's grown into his character.
Is he?
And it's amazing to watch.
Is he his character off stage?
No.
When you're with him? No. Okay. Yeah.
He's
How did
the
you get connected
kindest-
with him to open for him? Because that's a big deal. How did you?
From our days at the Comedy Store.
Okay.
And then I left, and him and Eleanor were dating. Then he took Eleanor, and I didn't talk to him for a long time. And then we bumped into each other here in the summer of 2019 at a diner. I just came out of a comedy club with my best friend, and we sat to eat, and in comes Dice and Eleanor. And we're like, holy shit, like 14 years that was past had just disappeared. And then we reconnected, and he goes, "Don't leave my life again." Because we were really close. We were like brother and sister. And then I just disappeared because that's what I do. And whatchamacallit, so we were rekindled. So then like about a month after we met up and we were talking on the phone, he texted me, "I need you for some shows." And then that's how I started. I opened for him once in LA like 20 years ago, like at a club he was doing. He wanted to do this club, and he had me and Sebastian and somebody else open for him that night.
So I assume touring with him is like it was back in the day, because I remember we were talking to Jim Florentine, and when he got to go out and open for him or something, I was like, hookers blow, any of that stuff. He's like, no, man. It was like potato chips after we would go furniture shopping the next day. He was like, it was nothing like you would expect. He was like, he was there to work.
Yeah, this is the hardest working man in show business. He doesn't stop working, and that's why he's the fucking icon. And yeah, the writer in the club is potato chips, candy, Coke, and water, and packs of cigarettes because he chews on them still because he can't smoke.
Cocaine or Coca-Cola?
Coca-Cola. He doesn't do drugs.
Okay.
He's so easy to deal with. It's so nice to be with him because I don't do any of that shit. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do anything. My drug of choice is the iron. So when it's just like after the shows, like we'll hit because we'll be in the middle of nowhere. We'll hit like a Wawa or something and he's like, I need candy. And I'm like, oh God, you don't need candy. You've got diabetes. Well, I can still have it. No, you can't. He goes, what do you get? And I'm all, I got these, trail mix, dried cranberries and some nuts. I got a banana. And he goes, ugh. He walks away. I'm like, what don't me? Oh, we have so much fun. He's so hysterical. But yeah, we'll go shopping. If you're on the road, furniture shopping, hey, we got to go in here. I need to buy this. Do you really need to buy this? You don't. You really don't need it. No, I have to have it. No, you don't.
He seems to be one of the most, just from the stories we've heard from people we've talked to and other people talking about, like one of the more playful kind of comics. Like he busts people's balls, but everybody that meets him for the first time has some story where he's just completely fucking with them and making them feel uncomfortable right off the bat. And then like, yeah, come here, that kind of thing.
He is the genius of making somebody uncomfortable and the king of fucking with people. Like we were, when we were at Soul Joel's in Philly and we were in the hotel room getting ready for the show. Like, I'd gotten worked out, I was getting dressed. He goes, come over to the room and hang out. And he's making phone calls and we're sitting there and he goes, watch this. I go, oh, it's going to be epic. And he got really into the audio, the voice record for iPhones. Mm-hmm. And he'll go, watch this. Joel, yeah, it's Dice. I'm not feeling well, man. And he did this whole spiel about, I can't perform because he loves his shirts, his Soul Joel shirts, and he's OCD, so he has to have even amounts of each size and each style. I only have 5 mediums and there's 6 larges, and I can't perform until there's another one, and I can't. You got to help me. I can't get out of bed. Oh God, it's too. I'm crying on the floor. So that night we go on. He goes, should I do them? I go play them on stage and torture Joel. So he goes up there. He goes, this is what I do to this poor guy that owns the place, and brings him up. And Joel's like freaking out, and he's just airing all the text and all the garbage he spews at him as a joke. And it was so fucking funny. Just tortures him, and he does it to everybody. He tortures. If he likes you, he'll do that.
Yeah.
He's a complete icon. It's so hilarious. Now, I was thinking, so you going out with Dice, but when you first started, did you hit the road a bunch after you got through the comedy store and got your feet under you? Did you go out and tour much at all?
We did some, because at that point the road gigs had dried up.
Okay.
So there was very few road gigs left, and the ones that had didn't pay well. So you had to pick and choose how you wanted to go about it. Like if you had a job, which I did at the time, I couldn't just take off on the road and do a triple run for 3 months and come back with barely any money to pay rent for those 3 months. So I picked and choose. I would go out with Mooney.
Okay.
Like I'd come back and forth to New York, or I'd do other shows wherever he went, I would go. And then I do other shows with other friends of mine. Like we do like road gigs, but it was always like a one-nighter. So we could drive back, and that was fine for me. I'm like, one-nighter, I'm in, because then I don't feel like I lost money. Yeah. And back then the road gigs that paid weren't paying anymore. So a lot of even bigger name comics are way ahead of me. that weren't famous, but they were known on the road and could fill a club, they were struggling because their pay was getting cut because nobody was going out.
Yeah.
People weren't doing comedy clubs then. Like they were all on the brand new internet. So we took a hit for a long time.
It's strange how comedy dips and it has like huge valleys and huge peaks. We've talked about it all the time. It's like with music, there's never a year. Now it's different genres of music are popular, but you never hear like, yeah, you know, the 80s were a bad time for music. Nobody was listening to music, you know, but comedy, for some reason, maybe it's just the comics that come around or the way society's ready to accept jokes or whatever, but it's weird how there are such deep valleys and huge peaks with comedy.
Well, here's something which I find interesting because I love history and I love psychologically breaking shit down and seeing the other person and where they're coming from. It's fun because it helps my character development. Also keeps my sanity from not killing everybody. If you remember, back in like 1990, 91, the term dysfunctional family came out.
Yeah.
And everybody was an adult child of an alcoholic. You know, I am an alcoholic. I'm an adult child of this. I'm going to Al-Anon, which is, alcohol, children of alcoholics and drug addicts that, my dad treated me like shit because he was an alcoholic, blah, 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 blah. So there's a lot of finger pointing, but not a lot of finger pointing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So everybody was pointing fingers. You're why I'm this way. It's your fault. It's your fault. So all the accountability in society, boom, gone. And you got to be more politically correct. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The term was politically correct. That's not politically correct. You have to say African American. You can't say black. I go, that sounds a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're putting a label in front of them, then American. Can't they just be American? Can't they just be a person? That sounds to me horrifying. Like that's, plus I can't spell it. So the fact that black, I can spell. But, it's just like, it was that whole weird, skating around on thin ice and tiptoeing on eggshells with people. You couldn't say this, you couldn't say that. And then everybody got all uptight and kind of closed off and didn't really do anything risky or, stepped on anybody's toes because they all wanted to get a TV deal. So everybody just kind of calmed down and sheltered back. And it's like Joan River. And then that was and then the mid 90s, it got really dark. And then Bill Maher came out with Politically Incorrect, that show, because he was, the antithesis, like, come on, it's comedy. Let's relax and make fun of ourselves and each other. Why can't we talk about these things? This is real life. If we have to laugh at it, it's easier to absorb. Joan Rivers was a big component against this politically correct bullshit. She's like, no, funny is funny. Get over yourselves.
I feel like Joan Rivers is one of the most underrated stand-ups of all time. She never gets mentioned in anything.
Never. But you know why? Because she has a vagina. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, why do we have to be politically correct if you're not in politics? Where did this come from that we all have to be?
Well, because again, what I'm saying is like now we're cycling back to like those early 90s. Instead of dysfunctional family, it's narcissistic, the personality disorder. It's triggering. It's transphobia. It's, it's anti-woman. It's it's all this stuff being recycled from 20, 30, 40 years ago. It recycles every decade because remember, every 15, 20 years, there's a new generation coming up. So even though we know it, we have to continue to teach the following generations, look, get over yourselves. Life sucks. Toughen up and don't take shit personally and you'll be fine. And a lot of them coddle. No, we got to protect them. Put them in a bubble. Oh my God, he's just a baby. You have to protect them. And then they go out in the real world and they get slaughtered. I'm triggered. I need my safe space. They said I need to be in bubble wrap. Shut the fuck up. And I said the fuck up, bitch. Just shut up. God, it's not about you. When everybody realizes on this planet, nothing is about you, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's a good point.
And it makes you wonder why it's cyclical, or Like, is
because
it just
new generations coming up and not knowing, and they have to learn all over again?
Is it a natural thing, or is it just whoever's in charge is just playing us generation by generation? Like, oh, we're running out of this. Let's try the old one of narcissism. That's kind of wearing out. Let's go back to blah, and just promoting that kind of stuff. And I don't know.
I think it's more of generational, because these kids are trying to find themselves. Remember when we were young, we were punk rock, mohawk, shaven head, piercings, bad religion, we're all like metalheads and punk rockers, and that's how we fell out of the system. Doc Martens, ripped tights, fuck you, right?
Oh yeah.
And now everybody's trans. I'm trans. Okay, so that's the new punk rock. All right, do you, boo? Give it, be happy. Find who you are. And that's how we found who we are, is because we experimented with other shit. Let people just be. If everybody just leave people alone and stop putting their ego into everything and making it about them, it's just generational. We're human. It's human nature to want to like explore and discover and find out who you are and where you stand and what your voice is. And comedy is the same way. When you get on stage, right? Like I've taught comics, done classes before and TED Talks about it. Like, your first, like, think of comedy as a child that you gave birth to. So if you've done comedy for 6 months, you have a 6-month-old infant that you've given birth to 6 months ago. So it's not going to have many words. There's not many jokes. It doesn't form sentences. It's just
shit all over itself. Yeah.
It's gonna shit its pants and suck your titty, just like a man. And hey-oh.
Sounds like Anna Nicole's husband.
I wish I had that.
Oh, me too.
I'd be paid. Who's old, rich, and dying? Hey, is your grandpa available?
I might transition for that.
Right? Hello. But and then like I always tell comics, the first people like, I've been doing comedy like 5 years now and nothing's working anymore. And I said, of course it's not, because you're growing, you idiot. Your first couple of years, it's baby talk. Kids gaga go good da da, and they start learning. And they have total gibberish conversations with themselves. Like, what the fuck is this kid channeling?
I would imagine for comics, it's the same as musicians, that like when you first start writing songs, every song you write, you're like, this is a fucking great song. And then you're 5 years in and your inner critic starts like that is garbage. You can't play that in front of you. You start getting better at it, and you better that it's crap that you're putting out.
It's also maturity. So now your comedy, you're 5 years old. Now you're a 5-year-old kid trying to talk baby talk because your jokes are written in baby talk. That's why they're not working anymore, because you're 5. So that's your first growing spurt on stand-up. So you shed a little layer. You got to throw some things out, tweak a little bit, and speak. Now those jokes have to be rewritten in complete sentences, because this 5-year-old kid can talk in complete sentences now. Has its own, couple of thoughts, but nothing major. But it's, getting its footing. Then when you hit the 10-year mark, when they say you become a veteran, I think that's a little too, I think that maybe in the 80s that was true, but it's not anymore, because the work is different now. You don't have the grind like we used to have, because we didn't have social media or the internet to help us. It was a grind. So 10,000 hours makes an expert, right? So we said 10 years, you are a veteran. And back in the day, if you did comedy 10 years, you're a pretty fucking dope. You were a road comic. You had a good couple hours of material. Easily. Nowadays, it's different. You get that a little sooner, that you think, I'm 10 years in, but the grind isn't there. So the material's different. So it's like, it's not quite the same. It's different. It's not bad. It's just different. So at 10 years old, now you have a conscience, right? Kids have a conscience at 10. They start getting embarrassed about, Mom, ew, don't hold my hand in public. Gross. Drop me off down from the mall. I don't want to see my friends see you. I'm cool. Like 10, 11, and 12, you're that age. So now all that shit you wrote from the first 10 years, get rid of it. It's gone. Doesn't exist. Because now you spent those 10 years developing your point of view or your voice. So now from 10 to 20 years, you are writing jokes for that voice. And then by the 20-year mark, you've gotten good at writing jokes in that voice, and that voice is matured. It's 4-dimensional. Then from 20 to 30, you could pretty much go on stage and just talk, and it'll come out in your comedic voice. Like a good example is Dave Chappelle. He's been doing a lot of TED Talks lately, a lot of Dave Talks, going up and just talking. But it still sounds like he's doing a special because his rhythm, his intonation with the words, his delivery, his pauses, it's all the same, but he's just talking, and it's funny, and it's you want to hear more because he has that development, because he's 31 years in now. So when you get to that point, everything, you can just go up and talk and stuff comes out. That's how they write. They just talk and then they pick things apart and go. But it's a really beautiful process to watch yourself become, like my comedy kid is 26 years old now. So she's driving a car, she's banging everybody.
Staying out too late.
Right? Yeah. Out too late. Her car insurance just went down last year, which is great. So so I have a 26-year-old kid so if you think of it that way, it puts a lot of things in perspective, and it'll help you be a better writer.
That is cool. I've never heard it put that way. It's a good, I like the way that's put.
I have a 9-month-old.
Yeah, you got a really
9-month-old
an ugly 9-month-old. Yeah. But plus what you're talking about, you when you put that much time in, especially in front of people, there's nothing that you can be hit with in a live situation that you haven't seen or kind of come across. It's the same way with bands. If you're in your first year and you break a string in front of people, you're embarrassed. You don't know what to do. Now, you play music for 150 years. There's literally nothing that could happen.
Yeah.
Maybe you've not witnessed it, but you're like, oh yeah, here goes another one of these, and you know what to do.
Yeah.
But you're like, what's his name? Alex Lifeson, when he breaks the guitar string in Rush, boom, you don't even notice.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
You either change it quick,
he's a master.
You either change it quick, or you make a whole presentation about how it's broken, and that turns into a little thing. And the people in the audience are like, whoa, this is a real moment they're having. He's talking, there's so many ways around.
It makes you real.
Yes.
Yeah.
It makes you, like when I do the dive on stage about tackling the younger guy, to pin him down to have sex with him. Because, when I tackle him down, I get bruised up and all this shit. I don't care. When I land and when I get up, I'm stiff from working out. I'm 51 years old, so I get up a little slower. So I made a joke about it one night and it killed. So I just kept it in the act. I said, one of these days, I'm not getting up off that floor from this joke. And they laugh because it's a real moment. Because I'm like struggling, like, oh God, my legs are sore. I'm like, oh fuck, I dead. Oh God, it's hysterical. And I just made a joke, and it kills every time because it's just it's breaking the fourth wall and having a moment with the audience. So, even when you're not doing stand up and you're singing with your band, you break that fourth wall or something funny happens, and then they're like, oh, we love her. Like it's their way to connect to you on a personal level.
Yeah. And actually, when JB breaks a string and he has to change it, then that's when I first started telling jokes on stage.
Exactly.
He'll be like, tell some jokes, Raelyn.
That's when I stopped breaking strings so much. I'm like, Jesus Christ, we can't have this. The extra guitar with me so I don't have to break any strings.
Right.
But it's completely different telling jokes in between songs than getting up there and not having anything but just something to say. Jokes. It's
you have that background that, I got my buffers.
Yes.
And plus they don't, if you're
and
terribly,
you play off me really well. Like it'll keep it going, So, and the audience sometimes, but sometimes they do not play back and it's brutal.
Yeah, we had an acoustic show, which lately our acoustic shows have turned into half stand-up comedy and crowd work. But we were playing, and for the first,
10 minutes,
couple 3 songs, throwing out some barbs, and they're just not saying anything because I don't think they thought they were allowed to. And we're like, Jesus, this is going to be really bad. And then finally some lady opened up with something, and then we got into some bit about being swingers or something. And then the place erupted. Then all of a sudden everybody's talking. I'm like, what the fuck were you guys when we started? We told you you're allowed to talk, but I guess they get that
They get nervous.
Yeah, they get nervous.
Yeah, they really get nervous. Yeah, especially like when bands are playing. Like, I think it's funny when music's playing, they'll talk during the song. But when the song's over, they stop. I'm like, you're doing it wrong. You're so shut up when the song is playing and then talk when they're. What is wrong with you people? Oh my God, I love this song. Oh my God. High five, high five. Shut up and listen, you whore. God, you're ruining it.
Okay, so all right, I want to ask you about my grandpa. When's the first time you remember hearing about my grandpa? What was your first Willie Nelson moment or whatever? If you had one.
I'm still waiting for the first person to go, wait, you're Willie Nelson's
Who's
granddaughter?
Willie Nelson?
Or who's Willie Nelson?
Who's Willie Nelson? Okay. My brother is a huge Willie Nelson fan. My brother, he's older. He's a huge country music fan. So I made fun of him because that's what you do.
Of course.
I was a rock and roll. We used to make fun of, we used to do the Donnie and Marie. Here's a 70s reference that she'll never get. Donnie and Marie.
I love that TV show.
Right?
Yeah, it was great.
And we used to joke around and go, he's a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll. We would do stupid shit like that. And then he'd beat the shit out of me. And then, because it's love. God, what was the first Willie Nelson? I mean, there's been Willie Nelson in my house forever. I just loved his voice.
Yeah.
All the girls I loved before.
Sounds just like him.
Travel in and out my door.
Well, Uncle Luca.
Thank you.
Yeah, screw Cher. You need to start doing some Willie in your stand-up.
Yeah.
Right? I do a few people, and I didn't get to do them that night. Like I do Caitlyn Jenner. I used to do Willie Nelson, and I used to do him and Julio together because Julio just sounded like this creepy fucking Sesame Street character, like if the Count was Spanish, like. To all the girls I even love, like ew, don't sing. Where's your hot son?
That's the song that Doug Stanhope hates.
Yeah. Doug Stanhope said he hated that song. When I asked him the same question I just asked you, he said, I just remember him putting out that awful song.
He was like, we got To All the Girls I Loved Before. God, I hate that fucking song.
Well, we used to sing when I was young, being a woman hitting puberty, we used to sing On the Rag Again.
Oh,
just can't wait to get off the rag again. I'm dripping in places I've never dripped before. Dripping on the floor on the rag again.
I love
Take it to the top.
Everybody now.
Yeah, all the pretty people.
Christy, thanks for doing this with us. When are you coming back to Nashville? Are you gonna anytime soon?
I don't know yet. I've been in talks with them. They want me to come back, so we got to figure out times and dates and all that fun stuff, and then figure out more dates. And when are you coming to New York?
I don't get up to New York very often.
Really?
It's just
we had scaled back this year because it's so fucking expensive to go anywhere, especially when you got a van full of gear and people put up in hotels.
And you can't park in New York anywhere.
Well, that's true. Except for the last time we played there.
The blizzard came and we played Rockwood Theater, Rock
Music Hall, something. I don't know. But anyway, it was the first, it's three years ago?
Chinatown. We went through Chinatown.
But we drove in and it was the first snow of the year. And it was probably 8 inches fell as we were coming in. So everybody was walking, but nobody was driving. We parked right in front of the fucking club. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But Raelyn's little sister was with us, and she'd never been to New York.
Yeah, you met my sister when we went out for drinks, and she told her. She's like, I went to New York, but I didn't see anything.
Snowing so hard you couldn't see above the second story of anything. Driving in the city, you couldn't see the buildings.
Couldn't even see the skyline.
It was wild.
No.
It was. I remember that snowstorm because on the Upper East Side, like there was cars piled up, and school buses and kids that were stuck on buses until 1 a.m. that they couldn't get to them because it was just, they didn't expect it. It was not supposed to hit New York. They were watching it. It was going off into, to the ocean. All of a sudden it went boom, like quick, like what the hell's happening? Like it was like such a quick slap.
Yeah. And we were driving in and literally it wasn't until maybe 30 miles outside. I'm like, I don't think it's going to snow. And then all of a sudden this huge black cloud. I'm like, oh shit, here we go. It's snowing.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, when you're here, I'll be there and I'll grab
I'm
JB
coming
to
next
go.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I can't wait. I can't wait to come back. I had so much fun there. Like it was such a great venue, great people. And I want to hit I want to try to hit Zanies. I want to hit places around outside and try to make it like a little mini tour, like hit a few spots instead of just.
Do you
one.
know Lucy there at Zany's? She books the club Zany's?
I don't know her. I have to
What?
get into her.
I'll connect you with her.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, because you should be playing Zany's.
You should, for sure.
No, I love Zany's. I
Yeah.
love it.
Cool.
Come out there and cross it. You'll have to come and open for me there.
Okay. You said you'd help me work on some of the jokes. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We still have to do that. So
Okay.
we should probably do a Zoom, and that way you can record it
Yep.
and then have it on your file.
And then put it out as a podcast.
It'll be my Andrew Dice Clay.
Gay.
Yeah, maybe you should just do the dice thing and just bomb.
It'll be mine and
everywhere.
Christy's new podcast, and we'll just
Yes. Hello. Hello.
And I'm out.
All right. You're the best. Okay, so I'll text you about that because I would love to.
Yeah. Let's
to
work. Let's
be
get
better.
let's get you a good 10 minutes so you can have a nice 10-minute set, and then from there just build them 5 to 10 minutes at a time. So
Okay.
like you've got about 5 minutes now. So let's that's my favorite reaction.
Maybe.
Well, I'll tweak it. Listen,
You were so
Full
sweet.
ride.
You actually went through because there's been some comedians, won't name any names, that when I asked to go through the jokes, they're like,
name them.
Yeah.
Andrew Collin. Anyway,
Girl, I love names. I love when people drop names and gossip, child. I live for that shit, hunty. I want to hear your name, every motherfucking asshole that talked shit and didn't follow through because people ain't shit. And
yeah,
I do that.
all the
Well,
egos.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah. But we also kind of need egos as musicians and comedians to get up and do it a little bit. Just a little
Healthy
bit.
egos.
Well, you need a healthy ego, which is confidence
Right.
to get up there, not crazy, cockiness. And I'm better than you, ego, and I'm so fucking great. And then they go up there and they eat a shit sandwich.
Yeah. Nothing's worse than the I
Like, how
deserve
did that
this.
feel?
Yeah.
Yep.
I deserve this. No, you're horrible.
Yeah, and if you go on before me and you bomb, you don't want to go on before me, and I come on after you. You don't want to do that because I will light you up. I don't
Cool.
give a fuck.
Well, then
I
I'm
will-
definitely coming
Yeah,
to the
she's
show where
good.
you open and say hello, because that's my favorite shit. Love it when she bombs.
I got your back, girl.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew
Hey,
she
thanks for doing this. This was great.
Yeah,
I'm glad we
girls
got
are
the
the
Zoom
best.
worked out.
I know, me too. Thanks for having me, mamas. It's so great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. And
Yeah.
I'm definitely coming next time you come down. Let us know if you need anything. We know where to go in Nashville, so
Yeah,
we'll keep
yeah.
you out of the weird
Perfect.
spots.
I'll be calling you for a ride from the airport.
There you go. You got our number.
I will. I'll come get you. You know I will.
Yay! Yay!
All
All right,
right.
mama.
I'll
All right,
talk to
I
you
love you
soon.
guys.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Christy Miller is my favorite comedian.
She's hilarious. She's got good stories.
I feel like we're friends now.
I feel like we say that after everyone. Anyway, enjoy your groceries.
Don't be an asshole.
I know your mama's name.
Enjoy your cigarette.